Today we're going to fit the neutral switch, so engine block's all cleaned up nicely. What isn't cleaned up nicely though is the actual cover for the switch itself. So this came off the old engine case and off the engine that was slathered in terrible paint, and you can see how bad that is. So I'm going to clean all of this off, and that surface needs cleaning up as well really. That's the gasket surface. It's absolutely fine on the engine block itself, but that will not do. I'm not even sure I've got a gasket in the set for that, so let's go and dig through. Do you know what, I actually thought there wasn't one, but yeah, right there, staring me in the face. Let's get this cleaned up. That's come out alright. I need to give it a bit of a buff. I do need to tackle the mating surface side, just to get rid of that old gasket anyway. So we'll get a scraper on that. Got a new tungsten carbide scraper, let's give that a go. Can't remember what I paid for this. I think it was probably about £12 or something. It's much easier than a Stanley blade or some such. What I might do is put this on with a little bit of Hylamar blue. Try and keep the tool as flat as possible. Well, I'm gonna persevere with that, and then we'll take a look at it in a minute. Amazingly, that cleaned up really easily. It's in pretty good condition. There's a tiny little bit of rock, but actually that will be pulled out with the bolts, although there's actually only 2 points of contact, so it should be okay. So this area here isn't a high oil flow or anything like that, so it's not a major issue. You wouldn't expect to see much more than just a little splash of oil in there. So as long as I get the gasket on and put a little bit of Hylamar blue in there, that should seal it all up okay. So not worried about that. Anyway, I'm going to put a little bit of metal polish on this cover and leave it as bare aluminium, I think. So yeah, let's do that. That'll do. Right. I think this engine's just going to get kind of cleaned up and put back together as we go now, because there's quite a lot of external engine parts that I didn't actually sort of attend to as I was taking them off, which makes sense because, you know, as you dig much further into it, you might find catastrophic issues that says, you know, scrap it. So you don't want to be investing too much time in parts that might not actually be being used later on. Well, I think that's nice and got rid of all that nasty paint. What I didn't show you is I've removed the old sheathing off the wire because it was actually chafed in places right there, and I have used a piece of heat shrink, so that's all nicely and newly protected. So just need to fit this on first and foremost. Right, so quite an easy fit. We just need to make sure that that contact there is all nice and clean. In fact, let me go and get a little bit of Scotch-Brite on that first before we put that back in. Right, so literally just fits on like that. That rubber grommet just needs to push in as far as it can go. It'll get pulled down by the gasket, of course, and not the gasket, that'll get pulled down by the cover. Right, before I go slipping this on, I just need to make sure this little notch here, where the that little rubber grommet goes, is clear of any paint that I might have left behind when I've got a feeling that's part of the aluminium casting, you know. Okay, let me see if I can just knock that out, because it's going to get in the way of the grommet. This is, of course, replacement engine cases, so the grommet didn't come out of there originally. Right, so yeah, I'm taking precautions here. Some protective bubble wrap because I've got an open engine and bits of shards of aluminium flying all over the place. It might just be a bit of the paint. It's just chipped straight off, so just didn't want it from. It's pretty much clear, I think. I didn't want it impeding the grommet in any way. Okay, let's slot this in. Seat the bushing. That's a much nicer fit. Right, so we've got two little bolts to slot in there, and they are both JIS screws, and I've just cleaned them up, so let me just get those, we can pop those in. Right, so I've got two little bolts to slot in here. They're both JIS, so I am using the correct bit. I just need to get a bite on that thread, that's all fine. And I have actually cleaned these bolts up because they did have, as you'd expect, a bit of aluminium oxide on them. Need to get a bite on that. Well, I'm not getting a bite on it because it's out of position, so you can see you can move it, you can pivot it on that one. So let me just loosen that off, and then we can finagle that into position. There you go, got it. Right. Just need to do those up good and tight. I hate these types of fittings. I'm not going to Loctite them, never get them out again. I just hate crossheads of any sort. Pointless. I could have put those in with hex head bolts, couldn't I? But I haven't got any to hand anyway. Last few little bits then. Just these are the cover bolts. That's the rotor bolt. That's the rotor. Just gonna you can see what I'm just gonna. Okay, that should be good. Let's give this a little wipe over anyway. So, got a little locating pin there. Show you where that goes. It just locks into there. So this is the end of the selector drum. So essentially, as you sort of kick up and down on the shift lever, which rotates the selector drum, that of course just turns clockwise, anti-clockwise, depending which way you're going. When it lands in the neutral position, what happens is the contact there and contact on the cam there, which is an eccentric cam. You can probably see it clearer that way. There you go. Will complete the circuit and put your neutral light on. So let's slot that on. I've cleaned it all up. I've cleaned the bolt up. Right, so all I've got to do is line the pin up and put the bolt through. It's 8mm, as in the head of the bolt, and we'll turn the shift drum from the rear just to make sure it's located properly. The bolt on the shift drum wheel on the other end is a 13mm, so no, that's a lie, it's a 12mm. So just stick a socket or a spanner on that to hold it while you tighten this up. That should do. What? I don't know what that little feature is there, but it's a deliberate cutout. So this isn't an entirely sealed surface, oddly. I didn't notice it when I took this cover off the old block, but that feature's definitely on the old block. So that does expose this to the outside world, because this to the right here is the back of the engine. So weird. I mean, you shouldn't be getting any fluids in here at all, because that compartment is kind of sealed away from inside the engine, but obviously oil over time will seep, but maybe that is just designed to let anything run away, I guess. I don't know, but if that's the case, why would you need a gasket there? So weird. Anyway, let's get it back on. So yeah, it needs to go on that way. I'm going to put a bit of Hylamar on the surface. This stuff stays liquid, so whoops, as you can tell, it doesn't go all solid on you after a few years. So I'm just going to gently brush it on. I'm not sure I'm actually doing anything, as in doing any good, but I probably should have given this a bit of a clean over, shouldn't I, with a bit of brake cleaning before I did this, but it seems to be okay. Yeah, that seems okay. Okay. kind of keeps everything nicely in place while you're fitting everything. So, put some on this side, but as I kind of just discovered, it's not really sealing anyway, so definitely a bit of an odd situation that. But yeah, I mean, oil shouldn't be passing through here is the point. It's I guess maybe that is for a little drain or something like that, but I mean, you'd think, well, why wouldn't you just engineer it so it drained into the internal engine case rather than to the outside world. 1984, less environmentally friendly. Okay, the cover is about as clean as it is ever going to be. Nicely polished up to a standard I'm happy with anyway. And let me go and get my 8mm socket on that. Right. Okay. Yeah, one of my little regrets is I didn't really thoroughly clean out all of the bolt holes on the cases whilst I was cleaning the cases up. I should have just gone in them with a brush. I was in a kind of a bottle brush type wire brush. You know, these type, easier to show you. So, because you do get that build up of aluminium oxide, you know, the white oxide that you can see on your threads. But I wouldn't have gone in there with a tap. Never do that. Well, I would never do that because you risk damaging the aluminium. Well, I'm really pleased with that. That's come out really nice. I will just trim off that little bit of excess gasket because it's sticking out quite a bit. But that has come out really nice. That's one little job ticked off. That is it for this video. Next time I'm going to spin the engine around and we're going to start fitting the external shift mechanism. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next video.